Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss grief and the mourning process. We all grieve and mourn in our own ways and based on our culture and our religious beliefs. This is a very loaded question because depending on what part in the person's estate after they pass, or even what type of job or profession you have, the answer is no, not really. And you will need to try and make time for it in your own way. Let's first look at what happens when you learn of someone's passing. Were they close to you? Were they your parent, grandparent, sibling? Were they a close friend or just someone you knew and interacted? Depending on who the person was, will determine whether or not work may be able to extend you bereavement time off, which can be 2 weeks, maybe less. You will need to remember the simple fact that after the loss of a significant loved one, you will experience some change in how you perform your work and potentially whether or not you will want, or management may decide for you, whether you want to work for the company after their passing. Sounds rough, I know, but many people quit, get laid off, or alter their work-life balance after losing someone that has been a very important part of their life. Have you been named an executor or a successor trustee? This is an important position, a mitzvah, and a burden that can take a toll on you emotionally, mentally, and physically. I will go into more details about being named an executor and or successor over the course of future videos, but for now, just know that your ability to grieve and mourn will ultimately need to take a back seat to some of your abilities or some of your responsibilities, such as helping to coordinate the movement of the person's remains, notifying people of their passing, coordinating the funeral, paying for their burial or cremation, handling their final wishes, and organizing the affairs of the estate. Grieving and mourning will come in between everything, and once things become a routine of sorts. Overall, I cannot tell you the best way to grieve or mourn, but I will tell you it is different for each and every person. And at the same time, we all do go through the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. We all spend different times in each of these stages, and it is our job as someone who is grieving, or even if we are helping someone through the grieving and mourning process, that they or we do not get stuck in a loop, especially in the depression stage. In my culture, as being raised Jewish, I was taught that the loss of a loved one is a time that family and friends come together to support each other. Even the community is to come together to help make sure that the person grieving knows that they still matter and they are important even after the loss of a loved one. You may have noticed I have long hair and I've grown a beard. In my culture, this is part of the mourning process. In Judaism, there are 3 phases of mourning. The first is called Shiva, which in Hebrew is 7. This is the 7 days after a member of our immediate family passes and is buried. We are not to work, shave our facial hair, cut our hair or nails, or adorn ourselves with anything of luxury. This includes bathing or showering. During this time, we invite our friends, and we hope our friends, family, and our community will come to visit us, so we know that society recognizes that we still have a place in it and is there to help us remember the departed. The people paying a Shiva call bring food, snacks, drink, so that we don't add the burden of cooking as we grieve. During this time as well, we often sit on a box or the ground to not only be closer to the one we lost, but also to not be too comfortable to help us with the grieving process. We light a Shiva candle that helps us identify the time of Shiva, and we say prayers each day besides thinking of the one we lost. The second phase is called Shlo Shim, which is Hebrew for 30. This is the following 23 days after Shiva, where we are allowed to go back to work, can be intimate with our significant others, take a shower, and start getting on with our life again. If the person that passed was a member of our immediate family, shaving and cutting our hair is to be avoided unless society starts looking at us like we are being shunned or we are required to be clean cut and polished for our profession. Additionally, if Shloshim falls during the high holidays, meaning Rosh Hashanah and or Yom Kippur, Shloshim ends early. Regardless, during this time, one starts working with family to handle the estate responsibilities and even working on creating some form of remembrance or memorial. Family and friends do check-ins to make sure the person is still okay and if they need an ear or a shoulder. The third phase goes through the 1-year anniversary of the person's passing and burial. This is mainly reserved for a parent and done only if the mourner wishes. In Judaism, besides in other cultures, one is classified as a mourner for a year. So the loss of a parent or a parental figure can take a longer period of time to get through the grieving process. During this time, there's a reflection point around the 40th day. In the 3 dominant religions on this planet, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, there is the belief that the neshama, the soul or the spirit, wanders for 40 days like Moses for 40 years in the desert, and Jesus before his crucifixion. During this time, it is believed that the neshama wanders the earth, visiting significant places from their life as well as their grave. It is often a time where family and friends get together again to celebrate the departed's life. Depending on how religious a person is, they will avoid events of joy such as weddings or going to concerts. One of my friends had a challenging time with this aspect because his uncle passed and he was getting married. His father, of course, attended his wedding, but it was bitter somber from what I was informed because music and the sentiment was not the same as one would see during a traditional wedding. At the end of 1 year, in Judaism at least, we get together again for what is called the unveiling. It is during this time we unveil the person's headstone and footstone at their gravesite. From this time forward, we are no longer considered in mourning, but we remember the person now only during key religious days of remembrance such as Yom Kippur. If we were maintaining the no shave or no haircut, we can now shave and cut our hair once more if we so choose. Honestly, I'm not going to be able to guide you through every aspect of grieving and or mourning. But as I mentioned, we all go through the journey differently. And I encourage you to reach out to your religious leaders, family, friends, and a grief counselor if you need help coping during the process. I know for me, it was mainly three friends that helped me through this period. My best friend, who literally stayed with me while I sat Shiva, so I wasn't alone, and helped me with some meal prep. Next was my first girlfriend, who spoke to me a couple of times from overseas as she knew my mom. And lastly, a former coworker and friend that I hang out with on a regular basis who did check-ins with me to know that I still had a place to come over anytime to hang out and just relax and get away from things. Let me be honest with you. After you lose someone significant or start the grieving and mourning process, you are going to learn a lot about people you consider friends, family, and even coworkers. There are going to be some that might be distant initially and wait for you to make the first move. This might be a cultural thing or something that they don't want to push themselves on you when they don't think that you're ready, or even them being ready themselves. There are also going to be some that will say, if you need anything, just let me know. The challenge is that you often have no clue what you need. And I know for me, it would have just been nice to have it where I got a hug or a check-in call from them, or to go do something and try to distract me from the situation at hand. You will also get many people that will start to say things like, I'm sorry for your loss, my condolences, my sympathy. Sometimes, and over the course of time, this will become more of something that one is expected to say, even though they may not truly mean it. You will know the difference between the two over time, and you will even run into people that will not care if you lost someone close to you or not. They will ignore the topic altogether when you bring it up, or be like, I don't care, I'm still expecting you to do things. As far as what to bring during a Shiva call or even a gift to give someone that may have lost someone, I'm going to put a bunch of links in the description so you have some ideas and some additional resources you may wish to look over to give you some inspiration. With all this said, let me share some thoughts that I've learned through these 4 or 5 months since my mother has passed. Life can be looked at as an abbreviation that means love integrated or interacting with friends and family and experiences. The loss of someone is a part of life. There are two sayings that come to mind. Nothing is more certain except death and taxes by Ben Franklin. And something I was brought up to believe. Killing yourself is cheating because life is precious. I know you are grieving. I know you want them back in your life physically, not just spiritually. But if you cheat yourself out of the experiences of life, or you cheat others out of the gift of you being part of their lives before it is your proper time, well, that is lost to the world and everyone else. People are in our lives for different periods of time. They are in our lives to help teach us lessons. Sometimes it's for a short period of time and others for longer periods. It is important to know the difference and treasure the time that you have with them, regardless of the length. Their journey through life may be different from yours, and you will need to know that even if you do not see them again for some time or ever again, be thankful for what they taught you, what they meant to you, and what you meant to them. On that note, I wish you the best. If you like this video, click the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel for updates, and share this video with others who might need this information.